What's going on, Blue Crew? It's your boy Big Blue here again with another Borderlands 3 video. So today I'm bringing you guys a ricochet build, mainly a mobbing build. As you can see, it does do fine in the takedown as long as you have multiple enemies. I am working on a complete version for the takedown, but this is just the mobbing capabilities that I have so far. If you do like it, make sure you hit the subscribe button, but let's get into the video. Okay, so the wagon wheel. The wagon wheel is obtained from any source on any planet. It's just a random drop, honestly. What makes this gun so good, unlike other Jacobs pistols, which I honestly think all Jacobs pistols are good, this one, when you shoot an enemy, the ricochet shots don't hone in on one target. They kind of spread out in a circle and attack everybody. That's why I call it the Bulletstorm Amara, because there are literally bullets flying everywhere. It does more damage if you have more guys connected with ties in mind and you do have multiple enemies. If you're just fighting at one guy, I usually switch to the OPQ system. It tends to do better, honestly. I'm also using a fish slap grenade. I'll go over this in a second, but I'm also using a fish slap grenade just so when I do have enemies grasped, if they're below 25% with that Slayer, it does damage. That was one of the things that Moxie actually discovered, that if they are glowing and you kill them, they do increased damage. But let's go over the guns, guys, and then we're going to skip ahead a little bit. Okay, going over the guns, guys. The main gun that you're going to need is the Cunning Wagon Wheel with that 300% damage above 90% health. That's what's going to do most of my damage. That's my mobbing weapon. All the ricochet shots everywhere, they bounce off. If you have more elemental damage or elemental damage types, you actually get more bullets. That's why I call it the Bulletstorm Amara build. I have the yellow cake, honestly, because for bosses. It is the ion cannon on steroids. As you can see in my inventory, I have an ion cannon. I tried to use the ion cannon, it just would not work the same way, so the yellow cake is leaps and bounds ahead of the ion cannon at the moment. Maybe they'll change that. With the OPQ system, I have this one with the consecutive hits. I did have consecutive hits on my actual artifact, but I changed that from the Pearl to the Victory Rush here. Even without it, the OPQ system is still a really good gun in this build with all the extra shock damage. You can run it with the Elemental Projector and a Driver, or you could run it with a Phase Zerker and that Pearl I was telling you about. I think you get a little bit more damage with the Driver and the Elemental Projector. The type of stopgap doesn't matter that you have here. As long as you have this anointment on it, the action skill start, that's what matters because it keeps you alive longer by triggering it. The reason that I'm using this fish slap grenade, and I'll show you here in a second, I'm using it because I always use a Slayer modifier. If I have them to that 25% threshold, I throw a grenade and it kills everybody. It's really nice. This is what I was talking about when I said you just grab somebody with that low health, how he's glowing, I throw a grenade, boom, everybody dies. I just really like that. I think it's really cool. It helps you move a little faster when you're doing things. And it makes the build feel more fluid. You don't have to slow down for anything. You can just keep moving. Like I said, if you are gonna use this to attack enemies, make sure you have multiple enemies because that happens when you do. If you do it on one enemy, it does not work well because the ricochets don't have anything to ricochet off of to rebound back to the original target to do damage. So make sure you have multiple targets around. One of the guns I've been thinking about using is the Maggie. I've been thinking about bringing the Maggie into the mix. Using a Maggie with 300% damage or consecutive hits. So that way when I am fighting single targets, I can actually fight single targets. But as you see, with multiple targets, I have no problems at all. And with the setup that I have, you don't see much damage that's going to go into amplifying the OPQ system's damage, but it still amplifies it very well, mainly because I have a lot of shock damage. You know, the OPQ system can do double shock damage, and I have a 300% anoint, which can double stack if you actually cast it. So the OPQ system has a lot of weird little things about itself, honestly. I may make a build on that and just talk about that gun as a whole. Let me know if you're interested in that, guys. Leave a comment below if you'd like to see me do an in-depth on the OPQ system. So I liked how I did my video last time, so we're going to do it that way again this time. So we're going to go over the brawl tree now, guys. Okay, in the brawl tree, I just have 3 points in the personal space. I have 2 in clarity from my class mod to give me some more sustain. I also have 3 in mindfulness just for that extra speed boost with the driver. Again, they came from my class mod. I had nothing to do with them. Moving right along, I think I'm just going to continue this video like this, and we're going to move right into the mythical assault tree. I'm not going to waste too much time showing you what you've already seen. As I was saying earlier, that stopgap is one of the things that really keeps me alive, because when I cast it, you see how I have those shells around me showing you that I am immune for 5 seconds. In the mythical assault tree, 5 points in to do harm, 3 in fast hands, 2 in violent tapestry, 5 in restless. I have 3 in transcend. I actually have no points in ascended this time. I didn't really need that stillness of mind whole time because I was killing everything so fast, so there was no point. Laid bare in wrath just for that extra damage. 1 point in remnant just for those remnant orbs, which they actually kill a lot of enemies. And 1 in avatar just so I can cast it more than once. Alright guys, continuing on what feels like the longest journey in history. We're gonna keep going and we're gonna go to Trant. I'm gonna show you what the yellow cake can do against Trant, which honestly we already know what the yellow cake can do against Trant. But I do have to include it because it is part of the build and it is what I use to kill bosses. Even in the takedown, I still ended up using the yellow cake. I tried a plague bearer with 300% damage above 90%. I tried a monarch actually with corrosive damage. I tried a sandhawk with corrosive damage. I couldn't find anything to work as well other than that plague bearer. The only problems I had with that plague bearer was how slow it actually shot the projectiles. That was my biggest problem. But let's go over to Trant. Alright, and as you can see, with the speed boost and everything I get from the driver, boom, boom, he's dead. You know, it didn't take much for Trant. Okay, in the Fist of the Elements tree, I have Anima 4 points, Steady Hands 3 points, 2 points into Infusion, 5 points in Tempest, 1 point in Dread, 3 into Indiscriminate, Indiscriminate for that ricochet chance. This causes so many extra ricochets because of Indiscriminate. You normally do ricochets, but the more elemental effects you have, the more you do. 2 points in the Catharsis just for those explosions for more elemental damage. I have 5 points in Assailment just for the lifesteal, just to make sure I have sustainment, honestly. And Forceful Expression just for some extra damage, elemental type. I'm using Ties That Bind, Stillness of Mind, and I'm using Shock as my element. That is my skill tree, guys. That is the build. I hope you did like it. Blue Crew as always, stay medicated, stay elevated. To the next one, peace.